Welcome to the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss more rare glimpses into forgotten history. A horse-drawn trolley clatters through the muddy ruts of Main Street in Los Angeles, somewhere around 1887. The buildings that line the road are far from temporary. Carved stone facades, arched windows, and second-floor balconies suggest a city being built to last. The street is little more than dried mud, but the architecture already whispers of ambition. Before it was a city, Los Angeles was sacred land. The Tongva people lived across the basin for over 10,000 years. They carved out sophisticated villages near rivers and hills. Fragments of sewn plank canoes, remarkably similar to Polynesian vessels, suggest deep maritime knowledge and possible contact across oceans, long before any Spanish flags were planted. In the 1880s, the Arcadia Hotel bathhouse rose over the sands of Santa Monica like a seaside palace. With its white towers, Romanesque arches, and luxurious verandas, it became one of the most extravagant coastal resorts in the West. But what made it even more peculiar was the roller coaster-like transport track connecting it to the city, decades ahead of its time. Photographs of the Los Angeles Aqueduct's construction in 1913 reveal a feat of engineering that feels ancient and futuristic all at once. Teams of workers and mules lay stones by hand across unforgiving desert, building a 200-mile-long waterway that would change the fate of Southern California forever. The aqueduct was more than infrastructure. It was the lifeline of a future metropolis. A quiet Victorian home clings to the side of a hill, its gabled roof peeking above a small garden. From the front, it appears quaint, but from the back, it plunges 6 stories down the slope, with windows and terraces vanishing into the earth. Beneath it all, early tunnel systems twist beneath the surface, half home, half labyrinth. A photograph from Easter Sunday 1920 captures a sea of humanity flowing through Elysian Park. Over 50,000 Angelenos, dressed in white and grey, gather shoulder to shoulder on the grassy hills. Just decades earlier, this area was farmland and chaparral. Now it was a sign of how fast the city had grown and how far it was reaching. The Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum opened in 1921, not as a sports venue, but as a war memorial. It was a monument to ambition, 100,000 seats set into a carved artificial hill, Roman arches framing the sky. The photo from opening day shows people pouring through archways, dwarfed by the scale of the structure. This was LA announcing itself to the world. In 1898, a massive tunnel project near downtown became an unexpected attraction. Curious residents gathered on wooden platforms to peer into the darkness, where men with pickaxes vanished into the hillside. The size of the tunnel alone was surreal, wide enough for trains, deep enough for speculation. Some came for the engineering, others, perhaps, came for the mystery. The Fishbowl Theatre, an open-air venue from the 1890s, was carved into a natural basin, forming a perfect acoustic chamber. Its stage was bare earth, its ceiling was sky. Stone benches curved along the hillside in semicircles, like an echo of the ancient world. Here, LA's early citizens came not just to be entertained, but to be transported. A photograph from 1895 shows a quiet dirt road flanked by towering stone buildings. Many are labelled as factories, but they tell a different story. Ionic columns, brickwork cornices, stained glass windows, they resemble European civic halls or museums. The street is unpaved, but the architecture speaks of permanence. In 1892, oil derricks erupted across the Los Angeles basin. What had been orange groves and farmland quickly became forests of steel and timber. Photographs showed derricks packed so tightly together, they cast overlapping shadows. Within 10 years, LA became one of the most oil-rich cities in the world, and it changed the landscape forever. Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles, the original Pueblo church, appears in early photographs as an adobe structure with a bell tower, modest in form but rich in history. Built by indigenous labor under Spanish direction, it marked the spiritual center of what would become Los Angeles. Around it, life unfolded for generations. A stylized depiction of explorers Gaspar de Portolar and Juan Crespi, standing on a bluff over the LA basin, tells of the moment Spain first laid claim to the land in 1769. But real photographs from later years show how little had changed even a century later. Rolling fields, low hills, and silence. Colonization was slow to take hold. In 1781, 44 settlers walked into the valley and established a new town. They were of mixed Spanish, Indigenous, and African heritage, known as Los Pobladores. Their legacy is etched into the foundation of Los Angeles. A rare photo shows the names engraved in stone on a memorial plaque, reminding us that this city has always been multiracial and multilingual. The first electric streetcar in Los Angeles began service in 1901. A black and white photograph shows the slender red car gliding down a narrow track between trees and open land. Within 2 decades, LA would host the largest electric streetcar system on Earth. More than 1,000 miles of track connecting farm, ocean and mountain. The Santa Monica Pier in 1916 looked like something from a dream. A Ferris wheel turned slowly over the waves. A wooden roller coaster rose and fell beside food stalls and carnival games. At its center stood an orchestra hall, where music poured out across the Pacific. This wasn't just a pier, it was a fantasy on stilts. An aerial image from 1910 reveals Hollywood before the myth. Gentle hills roll into farmland, and narrow roads cut through empty space. A few scattered homes sit between fields. The now famous sign is still years away. In this photo, Hollywood is just land, but the light already looks cinematic. Los Angeles City Hall was completed in 1928. In one of the earliest nighttime photographs, it glows like a lighthouse in the urban fog. Its Art Deco crown pierces the skyline, rising above a sea of lower rooftops. At the time, it was the tallest building in LA, a beacon of civic pride and architectural ambition. The construction of the Los Angeles Dam in 1905 was a marvel of manual labor. The black and white photo shows workers stacking stone blocks as large as wagons, forming the base of the dam without the help of modern machinery. Their silhouettes blur in the long exposure, men building something massive, one stone at a time. A single image captures a Model T crossing the exposed Los Angeles Aqueduct. The wide concrete channel stretches to the vanishing point, while the car, a symbol of speed, rides above the still water. It's a photograph of contrasts, motion and stillness, steel and stone, old and new. A parchment from the 1700s, now displayed under glass, holds the Spanish land grant for what would become Los Angeles. A plain of abundance, it reads. A second image, taken in the early 1900s, shows the same area, now lined with railways, smokestacks and adobe fading beneath brick. Along the Malibu coastline, a canoe fragment found in the sand shows the telltale seamwork of sewn plank construction. The technique, passed down by Polynesian navigators, predates Columbus by centuries. This wasn't just coastal settlement, it was transoceanic culture. A child kicks a ball past an adobe home in 1882. The walls are crumbling, the roof patched with straw. Behind him, men work on framing a new building with lumber and glass. One era is ending, another is rising around it. From the top of Griffith Park in 1895, the view stretches over an untouched valley. There are no freeways, no grid of lights, just hills, chaparral, and the faint shimmer of the ocean. It's a photo of Los Angeles in a rare moment of stillness. A stretch of downtown captured in 1910 shows 4 ornate theaters standing shoulder to shoulder. The Alexandria, the Majestic, the Orpheum, and the Belasco, each crowned with domes and arches, look more like cathedrals than entertainment venues. Even then, the city knew how to perform. Crowds gather at the Aqueduct spillway in 1914 as water flows through for the first time. Women in white dresses and straw hats hold umbrellas against the sun. A burst of white water arcs into the air as cheers erupt. This wasn't just plumbing, it was the moment Los Angeles turned on the tap. Downtown in 1903 was an architectural collage. Spanish colonial banks, Moorish towers, Victorian homes, and Art Nouveau storefronts shared the same blocks. In photos, the contrast is striking, as if time collided and forgot to sort itself out. A street photographer sets up his bulky box camera near the corner of 5th and Main in 1906. Behind him, passers-by freeze in curiosity, forming an accidental portrait of the city. A cigar salesman, a woman balancing a basket, 2 boys leaning on a lamppost, unaware they're being etched into time. A quiet photo shows an empty roller rink in Venice Beach in the 1910s. Wooden wheels rest beside the smooth floor. Faded posters on the wall advertise live jazz, foxtrot lessons, and ladies free on Thursdays. The silence is almost audible. In the early morning mist of 1922, Griffin Observatory is still just an idea. A surveyor stands on the peak of Mount Hollywood, looking down at a vast, undeveloped canyon. In the distance, fog curls through the valley like breath. A rare shot of the original La Grande station captures the moment a family waves goodbye to a departing train. The building itself is adorned with ornate Moorish windows, its clock tower casting a long shadow over the tracks. Within a few years it would be demolished, replaced by Union Station's grand arrival. Atop Bunker Hill, a woman in a wide hat leans on the balcony of the Melrose Hotel, watching the streetcars below. The building's turrets and iron balustrades frame her like a painting. Behind her, the skyline of 1908 LA is just beginning to rise. A pair of workers install neon tubing on a downtown theater marquee in the late 1920s. The tubes are glass and delicate, but soon they'll bathe the street in color. This is the birth of LA at night. Glowing letters, buzzing signs, and a city that never sleeps again. Inside a tiny recording booth on Sunset Boulevard, a jazz singer rehearses in 1931. The room is lined with egg crate foam and wood paneling. Outside the booth, an engineer adjusts dials, listening to history as it happens, one take at a time. A long-forgotten image shows early Mexican rodeo riders performing in East Los Angeles in the 1910s. Their costumes shimmer with embroidery, their horses prance mid-stride. The photo captures the legacy of vaqueros, long before the city called them cowboys. At Union Station's construction site in 1937, men with sledgehammers and rivets moved beneath the steel skeleton of what would become one of the last great railway cathedrals. Dust hangs in the air. The future takes shape, one girder at a time. The Mount Lowe Railway, once known as the Railway to the Clouds, climbs high above Pasadena in a photo from 1905. The trolley winds past pine trees and jagged cliffs, suspended on wooden trestles. At the summit, a dance hall and observatory await, floating above the smog. A Japanese nursery and sautel glows in the morning light, rows of bonsai trees arranged in perfect harmony. The photo, taken in the early 1920s, shows a peaceful business that would vanish during the internment of World War II. In every pot a story. A man walks through the Orange Show grounds in 1921, flanked by enormous citrus sculptures, castles made from lemons, towers of grapefruits. California's agricultural pride turned into spectacle. What started as farming had become theater. A candid photo from the original LA County Hospital shows nurses in crisp white uniforms gathered around a newborn. Behind them, tiled halls echo with the sound of clacking heels. The city was growing, and so were its people. Two vaudeville performers stand outside the Orpheum Theatre, practicing their act in full costume while smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. Their silhouettes are framed against the theatre's grand columns. They haven't made it yet, but the city still offers that hope. On the edge of the Arroyo Seco, a craftsman-style bungalow is being framed by hand in 1909. Wooden beams lie scattered across the ground. A dog sleeps in the sawdust. In the distance, sycamores sway beside a dry creek bed. This is the Los Angeles dream, under construction. In the quiet morning hours, a milkman delivers glass bottles to a row of homes near Echo Park. His horse-drawn cart jingles as it moves. A child peers from a window clutching a blanket. The moment is fleeting and beautiful in its simplicity. Outside a corner grocery in Lincoln Heights, a chalkboard sign lists oranges at 2 cents a pound. Inside, rows of produce rest in crates. The shopkeeper stands by the door, sleeves rolled up, ready to welcome neighbors by name. Beneath a massive jacaranda tree, students at USC gather for an outdoor lecture in 1915. Their desks are folding chairs, their notebooks balance on laps. Overhead, the tree blooms violet, shedding color into the breeze. A photographer captures the final breath of an adobe house as it collapses in a windstorm. The walls buckle, the roof folds inward, dust rises like smoke. Behind it, a new brick home stands ready to take its place. On a clear day in 1903, 2 hot air balloons rise above Exposition Park. One carries a daredevil performer, the other a photographer suspended in a basket. Below, crowds cheer. For a moment, Los Angeles looks up, dreaming bigger than the sky. A lone streetlight flickers outside the original Grand Central Market in the early 1910s. Inside, butchers sharpen blades behind wooden counters, fishmongers toss ice over fresh catches, and voices echo in a dozen languages. Overhead, signs promise fine coffee and best chili in town. The air is thick with spice, sawdust, and ambition. The original LA Public Library stands in a photo from 1913, not yet the landmark it would become. Children sit on its front steps, flipping through books while carriages rattle past. The windows are wide open, letting in sunlight, dust, and the occasional hummingbird. A blacksmith works on the edge of San Fernando Road in 1902, sparks flying as he shoes a horse. His forge is nothing more than a shed, but behind him, rail lines glint in the sun, creeping toward the desert. The tools are old, the world around him is not. The first movie premiere in Hollywood draws a modest crowd in 1914. There is no red carpet, no press line, only a string of lights, a small marquee, and a dozen people gathered to see something new. On the screen, moving pictures flicker across a wall, and the crowd is silent in wonder. A snapshot of Central Avenue in the 1930s captures the jazz district at its peak. Saxophone notes pour from club doors, neon signs reflect in rain-slicked streets, couples dance in the background, while a trumpet player smokes between sets, his fingers stained from brass and sweat. At the edge of a Chinatown alley, a lion dance troupe prepares for a parade in 1925. The lion's fabric head rests on the shoulders of a teenage boy, grinning. Firecrackers dangle from a string above him, waiting for the match. The drums are silent now, but the city is about to roar. A quiet moment in 1911 shows a street vendor selling ice from a horse-drawn cart. Blocks glisten in the sun, slowly melting. Children run beside the cart, barefoot on the hot pavement, hoping for a chip of ice to cool their tongues. A panorama from the newly opened Griffith Park Observatory in 1935 reveals a city below that still breathes in rhythms of light and shadow. The domes gleam under a clear sky. A telescope points west toward the sea, the sun, and every unanswered question. An interior photo from Clifton's cafeteria shows a surreal, almost forest-like scene. Trees grow from the walls, waterfalls tumble beside vinyl booths, waitresses in uniforms deliver meatloaf and dreams. In the middle of downtown, Los Angeles has invented its own wilderness. A lone worker hangs from a suspension cable above the partially completed 6th Street viaduct. His boots dangle over the void. The bridge curves behind him like a ribcage made of concrete and air. Below, the city hums, unaware of the feet taking shape above its head. A photograph from the LA River before its channelization shows the water wide, shallow, and winding. Boys swim in its pools, cattle drink at its banks, and willow trees shade its edges. It is a living river, not yet tamed by concrete and flood maps. A janitor sweeps the tiled lobby of the Pantages Theatre before showtime in the early 90s. The chandeliers above him glitter like starlight. Every detail, the gold-trimmed velvet curtains, carved banisters, is more elaborate than necessary. But nothing in LA was ever built to be ordinary. An ice delivery truck pulls up to a Craftsman home in Silver Lake in 19. The driver tosses a 50-pound block over his shoulder like it's nothing. A woman waves from the porch, balancing a baby on her hip. The past wasn't always grand, but it was always alive. Outside the gates of Chavez Ravine, long before Dodger Stadium, a neighborhood stretches across the hills. Small homes, gardens, children playing in dirt yards. A photograph from the 1940s captures laundry on the line and murals on garage doors. Soon the entire neighborhood will vanish. The newspaper stand on First Street in 1907 displays headlines about distant wars and closer scandals. The vendor, cap low over his brow, reads by gaslight. Around him the city buzzes. Everyone wants to know what comes next. A rare photo captures the first traffic signal installed at 7th and Broadway. The device stands awkwardly in the middle of the intersection, unfamiliar and ignored. A streetcar nearly grazes it. Change, in Los Angeles, rarely arrives quietly. The rooftops of the early 1900s are covered in laundry lines. In one photo, two sisters hang clothes while their brother launches a kite from the edge. Below them, the city churns. Up here, the wind still belongs to children. In the back of a Boyle Heights barbershop, 3 men play dominoes between customers. A radio hums with big band music. The mirror reflects not just their faces, but the rhythm of a neighborhood. Slow, familiar, and full of small rituals. A ticket booth at the Los Angeles Railway Terminal displays a list of destinations long forgotten. Edendale, Heliotrope, Playa del Rey, by trolley, each name a lost world, once reachable for a nickel. In the dry heat of 1920, a woman paints the first billboard on Sunset Boulevard by hand, each letter traced in black and gold. Behind her, empty lots stretch to the hills. Her ad reads simply, "Coming soon." A school teacher stands at the front of a one-room classroom near Highland Park. Her students sit at wooden desks carved with initials. On the blackboard, a map of California, a Bible verse, and the words, "Dream big." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay curious as we uncover more lost chapters of history.